1 out of every 5 verses in the Bible predicts the future. Certain prophecies, such as those which said that Israel would be scattered throughout the earth, have been fulfilled. Other verses speak of events which have still to be fulfilled. One such group of prophecies concerns the regathering of Israel to the promised land. According to the Bible, an astonishing change is also going to take place in Jewish thinking and practice. To appreciate how astonishing the prophecy is, we need to know how much effort Jews make to remember the Exodus from Egypt. At Passover every year, for 3,500 years, Jews retell the story of the Exodus. All senses are engaged to remind them of the miracles that took place when God brought them out of slavery in Egypt. The story is told with singing and responses. The foods they eat are symbolic. Children participate and are rewarded. It's all done so they won't forget their deliverance out of Egypt. However, the Bible says a time is coming when God is going to do such an incredible miracle that they will ignore that Exodus. The prophecy is found at Jeremiah chapter 16, verses 14 and 15. Days are coming, declares the Lord, when men will no longer say, as surely as the Lord lives who brought the Israelites up out of Egypt, but they will say, as surely as the Lord lives who brought the Israelites up out of the land of the north and out of all the countries where he had banished them. For I will restore them to the land I gave their forefathers. To emphasize, the 2 verses are repeated almost word for word in Jeremiah chapter 23, verses 7 and 8. The emphasis of 3,500 years of tradition will change. They won't recall the Exodus out of Egypt. Instead, they will tell the story of what has started in our day. They will tell the story of Jews being regathered to the promised land from the 4 corners of the earth. Today, 1 out of every 3 Jews is back in the land of Israel. The Bible says that God will bring them all back and leave not one behind. The Bible says that there, in the promised land, Israel will find salvation. We are working our way through the Psalms of Ascent. We've come to Psalm 126. Psalm 126 is the 7th of 15 Psalms of Ascent. Psalm 126 is significant because Psalm 126 relates exactly what we have been saying. Psalm 126 tells us that what the Lord is doing is going to be widely recognized. Psalm 126 tells us it's going to be the great thing, an event that needs to be proclaimed, the event that is going to lead to the salvation of all Jews. Here is Psalm 126, a translation closely following the Hebrew text. Song of the Ascents. In the return, the Lord's restoration of Zion, we were like dreamers. Then he will fill our mouths with laughter and our tongues with jubilation. Then they will say in the nations, the Lord is to do the great thing with them. The Lord is to do the great thing with us. We were rejoicers. Restore, Lord, our return, like streams in the Negev. The sowers in tears, in jubilation they shall reap. The wanderer, he will walk and weep, carrying the pouch of seed. He will come again in jubilation, carrying his sheaves. Here it is in the Hebrew. שיר המעלות. בשוב אדוני את שיבת ציון, היינו כחולמים. אז ימלא שחוק פינו, ולשוננו רינה, אז יאמרו וגויים, הגדיל אדוני לעשות עם אלה. הגדיל אדוני לעשות עמנו, היינו שמחים. שובה אדוני את שביתנו, כאפיקים בנגב. הזורים בדמעה, ברינה יקצורו. הלוך ילך ובכו, נושא משך הזרע. בוא יבוא ורינה, נושא אלומותיו. Psalm 126 is very much focused on what the Lord has done and is going to do. It's His work. He promised to do it and He is going to complete it. The four-letter Hebrew word Yud-He-Vav-He, which we say as Adonai, the Lord, has a numeric value of 26. The word occurs 4 times in Psalm 126, in verse 1, verse 2, verse 3, and verse 4. Psalm 126 has exactly 208 Hebrew letters in the original text. 208 is 26 times 8. That seems to be by design. More significantly, the phrase, "The Lord is to do the great thing," occurs twice in Psalm 126. In Hebrew, Higdil Adonai la'asot. The phrase occurs in verse 2 and in verse 3. The middle word in the 3-word phrase is spelled Yud-He-Vav-He. It's the word that represents the name of the Lord. The numeric value of Yud-He-Vav-He is 26. The word to the right of the middle word is Higdil, the great thing. The numeric value of Higdil is 52. 52 is 26 times 2. The word to the left of the middle word is la'asot, to do. The numeric value of la'asot is 806. 806 is divisible by 26. Of course, that means the complete phrase, "The Lord is to do the great thing," Higdil Adonai la'asot, is divisible by 26. It cannot be that all this occurs by accident. It's God's watermark. The original text is supernaturally delivered. It's from Him. Verse 1. Shir HaMa'alot, Song of the Ascents. Beshuv Adonai et Shivat Zion. In the return, the Lord's restoration of Zion. Verse 1 tells us that what follows is to do with Zion. Zion means Mount Zion. Mount Moriah in Jerusalem is where the temple stood. Mount Zion is the high point of Mount Moriah. Zion is another way of referring to Jerusalem. It's also a way of referring to the land of Israel. The verse identifies that what follows relates to God's dealings with the Jewish people, and those dealings revolve around them dwelling in the promised land. God doesn't wink at sin and rebellion. God disciplines. He is a good father who wants the best outcome for his children. God disciplines, but He doesn't stay angry forever. God disciplines, but He restores. God told Israel, "If you fail to obey all the law, I will thrust you out of the land." But every time He warned Israel, He followed up with promises that in the end He would bring them back to the land. Israel did disobey, and Israel was thrust out of the land. There were 2 occasions when Israel was exiled. The first was in 586 BC. Jerusalem was conquered and the Jews were taken captive to Babylon. After 70 years, a remnant, some 50,000 Jews, returned to Zion. Beshuv Adonai et Shivat Zion. In the return, the Lord's restoration of Zion. It is the Lord's work. He restores. Hayinu kecholmim. We were like dreamers. The phrase is in the past tense. Hayinu. We were. But that's not the end of the story. Israel still failed to obey all the law. Israel was thrust out of the land again in 135 AD. God did discipline Israel again, but God is restoring Israel exactly as he said he would. Multitudes of Jews are returning to Zion in our day. It's the Lord's work. Verse 2. Az yimales chok pinu. Then he will fill our mouths with laughter. Ulshonenu rina. And our tongues with jubilation. If you have a Bible that shows this verse in the past tense, then you need to know that it's not been correctly translated from the Hebrew. Yimale, he will fill. It is future tense. The yud prefix on the verb indicates he will. He, that's the Lord, will fill our mouths with laughter and our tongues with jubilation. While the promise of Jews being restored to the land of Israel is being fulfilled in our day, it is by no means complete. Az yomru vagoyim. Then they will say in the nations, yomru, they will say. It is also future tense, not past tense. The root is omer, a verb indicating speech. The yud prefix together with the vav ending is the future tense of they will. They will say in the nations, vagoyim. Goyim can be translated as nations or as Gentiles. Gentiles meaning non-Jews. Non-Jews will proclaim, Higdil Adonai la'asot im ele. The Lord is to do the great thing with them, im ele. Gentiles proclaim that the Lord is to do something great with the Jewish people. Jeremiah chapter 31 verse 10 says, Hear the word of the Lord, O nations, and declare it in the coastlands afar off, and say, He who scattered Israel will gather him. Here is a responsibility placed on us non-Jews. We are to proclaim it in all the world. The Lord scattered Israel, and the Lord will regather them. And here's a simple way you can proclaim it. Share this message. Higdil Adonai la'asot. The Lord is to do the great thing. If you have a Bible that shows this in the past tense, then you need to know that it has not been correctly translated from the Hebrew. La'asot is a verb in the infinitive. There is only one form of the infinitive in Hebrew. It always begins with lamed, meaning to. Like the other verbs in verse 2, it indicates future tense, something that is to be done, not something that has been done. Verse 3, Gentiles have spoken, now Jews also recognize what he's doing and they speak. Higdil Adonai la'asot imanu. The Lord is to do the great thing with us. Imanu. Hayinu smechim. We were rejoicers. Now, in verse 4, we see Jews appeal to the Lord. Verse 4. Shuva Adonai et shvitenu. Restore, Lord, our return. Do it, Lord. Do it. Please restore us. Ka'afikim ba'negev, like streams in the Negev. The Negev is the desert in the southern part of the land of Israel. To find fresh water in the desert is to find life. Verse 4 confirms that what's shown in verses 2 and 3 is something that is to be done. Why would Israel appeal for something that has already been done? Verse 5, Hazorim badima, the sowers in tears, berina yiktsoru, in jubilation they shall reap. It's not been easy to bring the truth of their Messiah to the Jewish people, but a harvest is coming. Verse 6, Haloch yelech uvacho, the wanderer, he will walk and weep. Noseh meshech hazara, carrying the pouch of seed. Verse 5 related to workers, plural. Verse 6 is about an individual. He has been away from his people. He has had sorrow. But, bo yavo verina, he will come again in jubilation. Yavo, he will come. Bo yavo, he will come again. Bo yavo verina, he will come again in jubilation. Noseh alumotav, carrying his sheaves. Jesus is going to have a harvest.